That's a song being offered by Dwayne Hepner, founder of the new presentation, to connect you with the real guides, to get some real guidance and a real education, to learn how to earn our way out of these psych realms, which are the physical, astral, causal, mental, etheric, and then through the deep dark border, which is like a shell around the psychic realms that separates the psychic realms from the real universes where there's real freedom, not just implied freedom, where there's real love, not just the emotional stuff. The new books by Dwayne, the great writer, are available at lulu.com for those that want to find out for themselves if what the new presentation is presenting makes sense. And I'll read a little bit of New Book 5, one of the new books by Dwayne, the great writer, of the Adventure Is series. But with our agreement to these dastardly people, we will be doomed for lifetimes. Are you not seeing the bigger picture here, crony? Asked Gerald. Gerald, tonight I am going to take you on a very interesting trip, and one you will never forget. You will not forget. To put this to you straight up, Gerald, you are already so screwed with what you have done, and most of all, what you have let me do, so wake up. It is far too late to care about anything now, because all of this is already happening, and you can be a part of it, or be lost all by yourself in some horrifying place amongst the astral ghouls. I know what I am talking about, Gerald, because I use many of those hideous creatures to drive the astigmatism of brutal fear into the hearts of the membership and others who I want to control. The membership has become so afraid, as an example, and that is to even read Dwayne's books, because just like the religions of the world and all the distortion they have created, I have done the very same thing with them on an unconscious level, as I learned all of it from the Callum God. They think Dwayne is like a little devil, and so who and what he really is doesn't matter, because it's all about creating a front, like the corporation, and driving the punchline to the onlooking fools. So they are more than willing to pay whatever it is they are asked of themselves. You do not see yourself at all, Gerald. You are actually the most blind of anyone I know. I am being upfront with you here because I have all the control I want, and I know it. Whatever you try and do will only make you look bad, silly and stupid, because you have already committed yourself to your routine and belief in your spiritual ideals. You are so trapped by what you and I have done, and now you have no way out. None. I have read all of Dwayne's books, and I must say he is an excellent writer. He is so good that I am wondering what will happen when the rest of the world discovers him. Not only that, it really seems he does have the rod of power, which he now calls the new wave. For now, he is really no threat, but he could become one. So we shall see. What he has written and implies outdoes what you have committed yourself to, and that is the tricky part. I will have to see what I will do with him to put him in his place, but I am patient with all of it. You should read his books. You will learn a lot from the adventures he is writing about, and know what you are up against, she said as she got up and went to her room. Gerald sat and drank his water as he stared with a long gaze on his face toward the window. He knew she was right, as the view indicators were affirming this. I kind of wondered if Gerald would ever take a risk and try to contact me, even to save himself. He cannot see it, but if he were to come forward, everything would change for him if he were willing. It is more than doubtful, Dwayne. He knows he is trapped, and at the same time he is the little king with the big ego. He will go down with his ship before he will admit to what he has done for the last 30 years. The experience you had with Heather on Blue Sky Island many years ago, where you and she saw the giant claw come from the depths of the ocean and take him down, that was the real indicator for him. Then, Revazar told you that Gerald would not be coming back. If for some reason Gerald did make a courageous move to return to his real senses, he could surpass everything he has done, kind of like the Milarepa story. Paul wrote about it in his books. But that is a very huge order, and Gerald's biggest hurdle is not so much himself, but all the ingrained emotional attachment to his unloving wife and the adoration of the membership, said Lou. Ursha set the view into the next night, where Crony came and had a time yanking Gerald out of his body. Why are you so resistant? Gerald, you have come with me. You have to come with me. I want you to be totally willing with all this. I can deal with the elites on my own and sidestep you. But as long as we have everything already set up, it would be much easier to keep things as they are and continue on. So, get off your ass and come with me, she finally screamed at him. Gerald reluctantly went with her, and they flew along the surface of a vastly gloomy area. It was easy to see he was still very resistant, as he had no more choices but to suffer what he now didn't want in his life. With all of Crony's threats, he still played hard to get. I knew Crony needed him, as she wouldn't get rid of him, even though she implied it. Gerald had become, without his conscious knowledge of it, a part of the adventure of my life, as it is one of my many challenges to see if he or the membership will pay attention to the new nowness. It's not that I hold anything against Gerald, because he has actually helped me to excel beyond what I could have ever imagined. His involvement, along with Crony and Durwood, have been for the furthering of the educational presentation I am now providing, as what is taking place on the earth is what is needed for most people to pay attention and wake up. As Crony led Gerald along, she finally stopped and pointed into the distance. Look, Gerald, do you see that huge bellowing of smoke coming from the surface? That is our destination, she said as she took his hand and drug him through the air, as he began to fidget and fear what would possibly be coming up for him. As they came closer to the gigantic scene, they landed on the hostile brewing ground. I could see that Gerald was now very resistant and uneasy, as Crony used both her hands and all her strength to pull him with her. Don't be afraid, Gerald. Actually, be very afraid, as it will all be over for you very quickly, she said, as it was easy to see she was stronger than he was with her willpower. No, don't do this to me, Crony, Gerald shouted fiercely. I have always loved you and given you everything you wanted. You can't do this to me. You can't, please don't, he said as he continued to scream and whine. Then she stopped as the wind blew to extremes and the smoke and cinders were falling all around them. Their clothes were being slashed as she held their position, as if she were willing to die for what she wanted from him. This is what it has all come to, Gerald. You made the choices you decided a long time ago, and now you are living those choices. I am not churning from what I have always wanted, and especially not for you. I told you before, I chose to take you down, and I have, because I love what I do. I know the dark road I travel, but it is what I do best, and I will not change. Here lies the bottomless pit, and this is where you are going if you do not tell me right now you will accept my terms. She demanded. As she let go, and he fell to his knees and put his head in his hands to contain his screaming. How can you do this to me? I loved you. I really did, he said, as he sobbed and slobbered profusely. Then she kicked him, and he fell to his side and held his ribs. You sniveling bastard. There is no such thing as love, only power and survival. There is no love in this life, only what you can get. You loved me. I never needed or wanted your love. I wanted the rod of power, and you failed. Gerald, you failed all the way with everything. That is what I wanted from you, not some childish affection to make you feel good about yourself. You already got what you and Durwood wanted, and that is to be worshipped. I am proud to say I took him down too. He became just like you, as the influence was there when I knew him before you. I wanted his position too, but it all became too late as you and him split, so I stuck with you. Because you were easier than him, she said, as Gerald looked passionately over at her, while the tormenting wind and smoke were gushing out of the bottomless pit. Who are you? He screamed as Crony lay on the ground, and there now stood the influence, dressed in all black, sultry attire, and welcoming the fierce onslaught of the wind and devastation at hand. It was all part of the drama. I am your worst nightmare, Gerald. I have been there all these years behind the scenes, playing with your precious little wife. She is such a willing child and has always been so cooperative with what my purpose for living is. You could see through her at times, but you wanted to pretend that she really loved you. She has played her role so very well as you walked out on the stage each time, and she was there with you as the seemingly loving wife of the master of the corporation. You have not been through the entire course yet, Gerald. You have let yourself be drug around, which serves my purpose smashingly. When the guides gave you the position they did, you were to earn your way into it, but you thought you knew more than they. I know them very well, and I cannot even get close to competing with them, because I am of a different nature. They are so far above us, and that is the reason you can barely fly on your own, and only a little above the ground, because you are stuck to the lowest part of life, and all that you see around you. Why has it taken so much for you to see the smallest and simplest of things? You, the great master, you and I are now the same. As you love the power and control, I have worked my way into you with her help, and you really did want me in you, as I can see so much more than you ever will. I love to hear you beg, as it turns me on. I have been around since the dawn of time, when a man first decided something. Then I was born of the desires of those who wanted something more than what they could have or see. I have no choice as to what occurs, but I am always there when things do. Your beloved crony had the great desire to rule and conquer, so of course I was there to support her. All the collectiveness of what is now known as the creative consciousness, as I am quoting from Dwayne's books, had brought me into the lifestyle I have so wanted. I am everywhere and through all things, and most of all, people like you. Rebazar and the boys are constantly teaching Dwayne about the creativeness of the psyche realm, as what we are doing now is part of his next book, and you are in it and being constantly exposed as you hold the membership prisoner to cronies' whims, which are really me alone. I want what Dwayne is doing to happen because it keeps so many confused, and that is when I step in and have my way. I salute you, Gerald, because you and millions of others like you have made me who I am. I love this adventure as it has become so much more than the boredom you have clung to all these years. Crony is so bored with you as she loves the challenge also. The certain few and their new order will once again rule the earth as they are so wonderfully dark and deceptive, which I love more than chocolate cake and rice pudding. Dwayne is the real risk taker here, as he is putting himself out into all the world for them to know and see what he is doing, which turns me on more than ever. I get to see and play all sides, as I have become more aware of so many things, and I love the thrill of watching you fail, and the thrill of seeing Dwayne accomplish what no one else on earth can or will. You and your cohorts are hiding from everything, hoping no one will notice your little deceptiveness, so you can keep collecting your bounty from the lame and unaware membership. This earth world is nothing more than a three-dimensional circus with so many people wanting to be in the act, yet not seeing through all the mirrors of the Callum God. The movie stars, the politicians, and now with things like YouTube, the rest of society can also do their crazy contribution to be a star. I love what they are doing and what you are doing. Gerald and little crony here also loves what you are doing, so why are you fighting us when we are on your side? You fought Dwayne for all those years because you are afraid. You really wanted what Paul gave to you and Durwood, all for yourselves, and there would be no one after you. I know the deals you and Durwood made. I was there as you told the membership what you did to hide what really happened. Birds of a feather love to be together. Ha, ha, ha. I rule over mankind and the corrupt bankers and politicians. They are all my slaves. You have become lost in those petty speeches you make to the ignorant membership. I am crony, the influence. Above all, I wanted Dwayne. Now there's a real man. He stood fast all these years while you and Durwood were being worshipped like the stupid Pope. If I had a choice, which I do not, because I am already what I am, I would worship Dwayne and subject myself totally to him, because he has accomplished something even beyond what Paul succeeded with. He took all the grief and loneliness and turned his life into being a great risk-taker, while you paraded around like a peacock in front of your lame, admiring onlookers. You are doomed, Gerald, really doomed, until some distant time in the far-off future, when you will possibly regain yourself and find, as Dwayne calls them, the real guides. But until then, you are mine, all mine, she said, as a huge eruption from the bottomless pit spewed out fiery streams of molten lava hundreds of feet high and covered the entire area as Gerald and Crony became buried. Then Gerald woke up drenched in his own sweat. He immediately screamed and jumped out of bed, then over to Crony's room and banged on the door. Lou and I watched all the drama, then looked at each other and smiled. This was better than The Simpsons.